Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Now, here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome back. It's another episode of the Craig and Greg Show. I am Craig, sitting alongside Greg, and we're bringing you some more leadership content. We want to help you get better, and one of the things that we want to talk to you about, and Greg, I've done this at my church too. I've talked to my people at church that I never want to stand up in front of them with my finger out like this and saying, you people,
I've had a
you
pastor
people
like
need
that.
to change that. But what really Greg and I want to do is just say, these are the things that we've dealt with, and here's what we've learned. Here's how we've kind of processed it. And one of the things that you and I have learned a lot about leaders, and so we're not pointing a finger at you when we're saying this because we've learned this about ourselves, is that a lot of leaders are much more concerned about how things look on the outside than they are what's really going on the inside.
Right.
And we've had to have those meetings sometimes with people where we've said, okay, this might look good the way you're doing it, but it's not good, and it's not going to be sustainable. It's not getting the best out of you and your organization.
Right.
So let's start off first. I'm going to give all of our listeners, all of our viewers, the benefit of the doubt that they're not doing this on purpose. They're not purposely saying, I just want to look good on the outside.
Right.
But we have a tendency towards doing that. Why is that? Why do people kind of naturally gravitate towards making sure the outside looks good?
I've kind of wrestled with this one because it's really what's inside that comes out. We've probably been around people that hurt others, and usually it means they're hurt inside,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
But they don't fix it. And so maybe it's just unwillingness to dig in, because hard work.
Right.
The surface is easy. You brush your teeth, fix your hair, put a little outfit on, sprinkle some perfume or cologne on. I do cologne personally. And but then that's it. It's not hard work. I wonder if digging in is the hard part. Image is the easy part. Like, I want to go shopping and get a new suit so I can look good.
Sure.
Am I good inside? Not really, but I just want to look good. I had a partner years ago that I remember him saying, his mom goes, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And it's just got no substance.
No.
And so I think that's our challenge, our call to leaders is have substance and realize when you have a vacancy, a flaw, maybe something to wrestle with or work on, don't lead with pretty, right? Like, I'm all set. I got my kerchief, got my rings on, got my hair done, smell good. Work on the hard stuff, because I think that's where people are drawn to you and me and you. Is that, oh, you know what? Craig's dealing with something. I'm going to be there.
Well, and I wonder if that is part of it too. Is it because of leaders are thinking that the other people, their followers, their teammates are looking at them and saying they need to see me all put together and I can't show them that I have any chinks in the armor, that I don't know something, that I've messed up somewhere. I can't let them know that because they're expecting something more from me. Do you think they're trying to live up to somebody else's expectations?
Probably, and unfortunately, there's no backbone in it. It's
Right.
Yes, you do want people to look good, take care of themselves. First off, on the inside, start with your heart.
Right.
Make it right. So you're going to serve people. Hence your books. Servant leader. But by the way, you can get his book on Amazon, Servant Leader When Sheep Bite. So anyway, that's a little plug. I don't want to say vanity, because I think we do like to look good. Like if someone gives you a compliment. I don't know the movie. This is not even on our script, but maybe it was Mel Gibson. It was that movie where what women think.
Yeah.
No.
What women want.
What women want.
Yep.
And he heard it, and it just drove him crazy, because it was like, they looked good going through the office, whatever. And if we could get that bubble, Craig, on our head, like, Craig's not having a good day, I'm going to check in on him.
Right.
We just don't let him in.
Right.
I was talking to someone today on the phone, coaching him, and by the way, we do coach. He's like, fine is a horrible answer.
Sure.
When someone says, how are you? Fine. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I mean, that's what you want to say. Like, come on.
Right.
I wonder about that, Craig, where they don't want to show weakness, if
Yep.
that's what inside stuff means. But there was a person I was on a group call, and he kept on telling everybody, how many cases he's tried, and it was an attorney call, and I'm like, is that image or is that substance?
Sure.
And I think that's hard to get to substance. It's a little scarier.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And I always think about Margaret Thatcher had a great quote. She said, if being a leader is like being a lady, if you have to tell someone you are, you aren't.
Ooh.
And so I think that there's
Yes.
some people that's their, I want you to know that I am the leader. And so look at my email signature, and I've got my qualifications, like these initials after my name. And I make sure that I have this and this, and it is a substance, or I should say a style over substance thing.
Yeah, there you go.
But I think, again, those kind of people, even if you were to point out to them, like somebody forwards them this episode, they watch it, they look at their computer and go, well, yeah, I know some people that are like that. And they're still not going to recognize it in themselves. So let's set those people aside, and let's talk to our highly intelligent audience that they say, hey, listen, I realize I got some room for improvement.
Right,
Okay. Yeah. And I need to make some changes. So I jotted down a list of, I'm sure there's a lot more than this, but I tried to look at some broad categories of things that we usually recognize in ourselves or in other people, but what we should equally recognize. And the first one is this: what we usually recognize is talents and gifts.
Gift meaning like skills.
Abilities. But what we should equally recognize is, on the inside, the character, the integrity, the work ethic that's there on the inside, that's willing to put in the work to make the talents, the gifts, actually do something. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can have it, and I think that some people say, look at my gift. It's up here on the shelf. Isn't it beautiful? I dust it off every once in a while. I got a special spotlight on it. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, it's just sitting there. Right. We're more interested in the people that are saying, yeah, I have a gift, but boy, I need to work at it. I need to polish it. I need to. So as leaders, let's talk about this in two categories. Let's talk about, first of all, in ourselves as leaders, how do we make sure that we're doing the inside stuff, in this case of integrity and character? And then let's look at the other side. How do we call that out? How do we recognize that in the people around us?
Character. I don't think someone's given character.
No.
I think they get character when they're in situations where character is required.
Yes. It's definitely a forged in the fire thing.
Like, you take coal and you put a little heat to it and you end up with a nice stone, right? Diamond. Metal, hard. You put a little heat to it and you can form it and mold it to something that you can use, So I think that's one of the biggest things. So someone could have a gift, like let's say you play basketball, you can dribble both hands very well, left and right. You're ambidextrous. It's not something that you charactered. It's something that you were gifted with, and you had to work at it maybe. Sure. But character really is like, okay, now it's time to be character.
Right.
I mean, it's really not like, oh, I got a lot of character, I should use it today.
Right.
And we've talked about this in prior episodes. I had another partner that often says, so to be honest with you, we shouldn't. I'm like, so you've been lying the whole time?
Right. I know. I hate that phrase. Yeah.
It's such a corny one. It's like, oh, so Pinocchio, now you're legit.
Right.
So I don't know. To me, the harder one to know if you have it prior to the event that requires character. That's the tough part for us leaders, right?
And that's I'd love to be able to say, when I see some circumstances or see somebody else in a circumstance, oh, I would handle it like this. I'm never going to know until I actually go through that fire if I would handle it like that.
What's it like? So yes. I flew back on a plane, and of course I was a row or two behind the emergency aisles. And the flight attendant comes up. They do a great job. In case of emergency, do you have anything, blah, blah, do you agree to help us, and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, those two people right there, I will throw them out the door. I will get out. They're not going to open the door for me. They're not capable. And how did they get the exit aisles beyond me? But for me, I think part of it is I don't know what it's going to be like when we have an emergency.
Right. Right.
Like, hey, we landed poorly. We lost a wheel. Our engine was on fire. I don't want that to happen to me. But you don't know how you'll react or respond. And I think that's where character is. Yep. Whereas gifts, talents, maybe even skills, can kind of be taught. But like talented is you're quick. Well, that's how you were born. Unless you're 300 pounds, you're still going to be quick. That's the way you were born. Character. Do you have the metal of steel to handle it? Or
right.
I don't know until we're in it.
Right. And that's where I think then we have to reward that. We have to see it in other people and say, hey, you know what? You had the option to do this. The other day, I saw a student in the school walking through the cafeteria. He had not just eaten lunch. He was coming from another class, but he's cutting through the cafeteria, and he stopped and saw a wrapper on the ground and like had to kind of backstep to pick it up and was heading towards the garbage can.
Wasn't his wrapper.
And I went out of my way. I was walking this way. I went all the way around so I could intercept him when I came by on the other side. And I said, hey, I saw you pick up that wrapper. He did not do that for show. He didn't even know that anybody saw him do that. But I saw it, and I wanted to recognize that. And I think that as leaders, that's what we need to do too, is when people go through a situation, we might even say to them, maybe you didn't make the right business decision there, but you made the best decision according to your conscience, according to what is consistent with who you are. Yeah. I saw your character. I saw your integrity there. That's the kind of stuff that we need to call out, because I think some people are hesitant. They leave it back. Like, should I act on this? I mean, I think I'm supposed to pick that up, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. When we see it, we got to reward it, which again, I don't know, maybe Harrison can go back and search through some of our past episodes. I don't know how many times we've said this, but you are not going to spot that if you're just sitting in your office.
Right.
Exactly. You have to be out walking around,
noticing, observing,
and then you can call it out of people. You can recognize that. Here's another one I got on there. We usually recognize a superb product, but what we should equally recognize is a quality process that got us there. So we don't want to just say, well, the ends justify the means, because that's just making it look good. We want to say it was a quality process as well as a quality product to get there. Well, I got the sale. Yeah, you cut some corners to get there. Right. We want to say, even if we didn't get the sale, I appreciated that on your side, you crossed every T, you dotted the I's, you made sure that this part was done. That's important to me as well, equally as important as, if you got the sale, great. If you didn't get it, but you still had a good process.
I think potentially character and the quality of process are similar, because without the process, without refining your character and making sure you're on point and ready, and then when you do have a circumstance that requires to call out your character, it's available, it's ready. I think the same thing with process. A quality product, everybody wants that, but it doesn't go a quality product like this. Right. It's a process. It's maybe contributions of others. You test it. Maybe quality assurance. You make sure the packaging helps if they were making a product. So I think the process really comes first. Character comes first. But it's so easy to hire the skill.
Oh, sure.
It's so easy to pick out, oh, that's a really good car right there. I can tell. Well, what's their manufacturing process? Well, I don't know where they get their products to make the car. But the car, I can tell the car is good. Okay, but that's not our leadership story. Our journeys, we're not self-made. It wasn't instant oatmeal. We had to work at this thing, and sometimes we didn't do well. Yes, we admit it. But at the same time, that's where character is like, I'm going to do it better next time. Versus, well, it looked good. I had the microphone.
Or I got the sale. I finished the product. It did whatever. Yeah, but you're not going to be able to replicate that because you burned bridges along the way to get there. You cut things short. You didn't learn something in the process. So sure, you got the sale. You got to the goal.
Outcome doesn't mean the plan or the process was good.
Right. It might have been just lucky.
Well,
right.
I've had that before.
Yeah.
I've admitted that now.
Yeah.
I think that the process is really, but maybe we just don't want to wait.
Oh, sure.
We
sure.
love, hey, look at our product. So, how long was that in R&D? R&D? I didn't do any R&D. I just tried. And so I think that's a tough one because we're talking about humanity, right? We're not talking machines or robots.
Right.
And we'll be inconsistent. We're pretty chemical. We're pretty fluid. Whereas a machine is,
right.
It's kind of hot. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Got another one here.
Right.
Excellent performance
Boy.
on the outside. Mm-hmm. Excellent discipline on the inside.
Yeah, I think if we can use sports as an analogy, there was one basketball player that said he didn't like practice.
Yeah.
And there's another basketball player that said the only reason I'm good today is because of practice.
Yeah.
And they're quite different in their, accomplishments.
Right.
But practice is boring, right? Process is boring. Planning is boring.
Oh, yeah.
But it sure elevates the probability of consistent excellence. Yep. I like the word performance that you use. Why did you pick that?
Performance?
Yeah, excellence in performance.
Yeah,
Broadway.
Yeah, well, so I see some people, like I always remember when doing a day-long training with my staff, and when we were at like the lunch break, one of our newer employees had come up to me and said, "Man, this is great. I've already gotten so much out of this." I said, "Well, great." He said, someday I'd like to do this. I said, "You'd like to do what?" "Well, I'd like to be the one up here, making the presentation." Okay. And then I just went on, and then he came back again, and he's like, "Do you think I could do that someday?" "Sure, you could, but do you know what I had to do to get here? How many books did I read? How many of these components had I already kind of worked on in small groups to make sure that this was going to work in a large group setting? How many things
you prayed, prepared.
Yes, all of that kind of stuff. And so, sure, you're seeing an excellent performance, but you wouldn't have seen that if I had been lacking in my process, my discipline to stick with it on all those kind of things. Because, listen, I could go, especially now, you could go online. There's plenty of resources on there that you could just say, "Hey, pull up a slideshow for me that has these things on it." And then you just do 3 tweaks and you go, "Here's my slideshow." And people go, "Ooh, that looks great."
Yeah.
There was no discipline in your life to get there. There was no real work at that other than pulling up a few search things, So
I just like the performance one because it's almost like, I won't go too far, but I think when people are performing, their inconsistency will show.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas, the discipline, the lack of discipline will show, but that you disciplined, it really doesn't show because they're like, yeah, he's very consistent.
Right.
That's probably one thing that I would say for me as a leader, I wish to work on being better, like consistently available to you and others, consistently positive, consistently humble, consistently hungry, just more consistent. And that comes from discipline, not performance.
Right.
I went to a comedy show downtown this past weekend, and I thought, that was a good performance. That's right, they're actors.
Yeah.
That's not who they really are.
Right.
They come up and they make a few jokes, and you think, I'd like to have coffee with him. He's probably not that guy. There's few that are, like I would think of John Candy, passed away. He would be that guy consistently. A Robin Williams consistently. But you think, I think it's just performance.
Yeah.
And if he's in a little mood or he's not interested, you're just like, well, I kind of like that comedian, but I saw him in the airport. He was kind of mean.
Right. You're like, I already heard this bit. You don't have anything else to share?
Yeah, that's
right.
So you don't have any new material to try on me?
Right. Well, I was looking at a couple of things that you had jotted down.
Well, what about appearance and stability?
Well, I think I think we kind of covered those, but that's all right. You had talked about in here that if we ignore the inside stuff,
yeah,
okay, if we ignore it, what is the inevitable result. What's going to happen? First of all, us as leaders, if we're not taking care of the inside stuff, what's eventually going to happen to our leadership on the outside?
Crash and burn. Yeah, your circle of influence will be less. Your impact will be less if you have one.
I have found that if I'm not constantly pressing myself to raise the bar, the leaders around me don't just like stay below my lid of where I am. They leave. They're like
they vacate.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We've heard this before. You don't have anything new.
Right.
You're not growing, and you've probably run into this. Maybe you've run into this where like you catch up with a friend you haven't seen for a couple of years, and you're like, hey, what's going on? And they start telling you the same story. You're like, when we were together a couple of years ago, this is the exact same story you told me.
Yes.
So you haven't grown at all. Nothing in your life is expanding.
I think for us leaders, one question to ask, so what's new? Tell me what's new.
Yeah.
Because it kind of triggers, well, I can't tell them about my favorite dog, my golden retriever, because I've had the dog for 10 years. That story is not going to work.
Right.
What's new? Well, and that's to me something on like, where's your drive to be like, and we can take this even as a faith or a Christianity. Renew yourself.
Yeah.
You got the verses memorized. It's just like, how do we renew ourselves? And I think every season there's a chance to renew.
Yep.
Get rid of some stuff, add some things. But that's part of excellence.
Well, let me give you.
Yeah.
I actually just read something. It was just the other day in my daily Bible reading that goes along with this. That a lot of people talk about.
Can I just interrupt you?
Sure.
That helps your inside.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Romans chapter 12. A lot of people talk about this passage that, as it starts off, to present your body as a living sacrifice, and then your mind can be transformed and renewed. Well, right on the heels of that, right after that, Paul says this: don't think of yourself more highly than you ought to. And that's really a part of putting yourself on the altar, is saying, I don't have it all figured out yet. Yeah. Did I learn something? Sure, I learned something. Was I able to help some people? Yep, I helped some people. But I need to learn more. There's more people that I could help. There's more things I need to learn. There's more places that I need to humble myself. Like you use the word consistency earlier. I need to be more consistent in doing that. And so not only, I think, on the outside does our leadership begin to crumble, but I always think about, too, what kind of trajectory am I putting people on around me if all I'm doing is praising them for how it looks on the outside? If I'm just doing that, then I've put them on a trajectory that they just say, all I have to do is keep up appearances.
You talked about kind of appearance and the trajectory. So there was a guy that I worked with. He was in leadership. Sometimes he wasn't a leader, but that's another challenge for us, right? And if he didn't know what to say, I like your shirt. It's 42 years old. It was my grandpa's. I mean, they don't even know.
Right.
You know, instead of saying, I really like how you handled that situation with your teammates.
Right.
No, that's too hard of a compliment, I guess. Or they're not even watching. I don't even know what they're doing.
Well, that's probably more likely.
Yeah. So just walking through by the hallway you pass, I like that shirt. Mm-hmm. His comment was, love your tie. And he walked on. I could have had gangrene, gout, and a patch on my face with a sore eye. He would have known nothing. Right. He would just, I like your tie. Oh, thanks.
Right.
But why can't we give a compliment, or why don't we notice the inside, the substance?
Well,
it's just easy to say,
yeah.
Love your shirt.
Yeah.
I think your shoes are awesome. That new car you got is beautiful. Yeah, I'm kind of struggling though. Yeah, I love that car. You didn't hear that I was struggling.
I know. Well, listen, it does take somebody in your life that loves you enough to tell the truth to you. Yeah. And I think that there's an old Gaelic proverb that says that the best mirror is in a good friend's eye. Somebody that, because I see you differently than you see yourself. Right. And that's how we come to help in your organization or help you individually in coaching, because we've got some perspective that you don't have, and we're not coming in with certain baggage or understanding of maybe what's going on in your organization. We bring in a fresh perspective. So we want to help you maybe spot one of those blind spots where maybe you've been focused on the outside instead of the inside. So please check out, Greg mentioned earlier that our coaching, but check out maximizeleadership.com. There's a tab on there that says coaching. You can meet some of our coaches on there, but especially on there, fill out that form and say, this is what I'm interested in, or this is what I'm struggling in, or I'd like to get better here. We're going to look through that, and then we will recommend one of our coaches, or maybe we'll say we've got another option for you that you ought to consider. But if you're ready to go to the next level, if you want to work more on the inside stuff, you need somebody else to help you. So let us help coach you to that level. These podcasts that we bring you to largely come from ideas that people have shared with us. We've come on things that say, hey, that's great. Somebody asked me this question. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So you got something that you'd like us to talk about, leave a comment below. Reach out to us on X at Maximize Podcast. There's a lot of different ways to get in touch with us, but let us know something that maybe you'd like us to cover, and we would be happy to put that in an upcoming episode. We're here to resource you, because when you get better as a leader, everybody around you is going to get better. And when we start doing that, pretty soon we're going to change the whole culture around us to a better place. So let us help resource you. Stay tuned. We got lots more wonderful content coming your way real soon.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.